Fair. Okay, all right. We're all good now. All right, let's begin. Let's begin. We're off track here. Okay. So I already did my promo of CodeBeam NYC. Let's move on to why we're here. So let's talk about OpenTelemetry first. We're gonna get into Igniter, which I think is the new hotness by Zach Daniels. Zach, thank you for coming to the stream. But going back a few years, so about 2 years ago, I wrote this blog post, Elixir Observability, OpenTelemetry, Lightstep, and Honeycomb. What I want to get into here just really briefly is what is OpenTelemetry and why are we trying to create an installer for it? So I think everyone here is probably familiar with telemetry, which is a project, and I have a little thing blurb about here. Telemetry is an Erlang library for providing a language and library agnostic means to produce and hook in telemetry events in the beam. Yes, so telemetry is a very tiny library. It's very readable. In fact, I suggest everyone read it, even if you're not familiar with Erlang. Um, when you produce a telemetry event, anything that is registered as a handler for that event will be called inline. And then there's a series of hooks that can be used to basically push telemetry events to other places. This is not OpenTelemetry. OpenTelemetry is a language agnostic project. And what it is a way to hook into your application and provide particularly spans and traces, but also logs and metrics that can be shipped to any vendor. So back in the good old days, you just drop in some APM, and that APM would just magically hook into your project, and you'd be producing all different types of metrics for all your HTTP routes and all of your, you know, maybe some background jobs, show like memory metrics. And even some of the good ones, some of the good APMs would even produce some trace data for you. They'd certainly hook into your logs and ship your logs. The problem with these APMs is that one, they're vendor specific. So if you're using Datadog, you would use the Datadog APM, but if you're using New Relic, you use the New Relic APM. And what would happen is you'd want to switch vendors or you want to evaluate another vendor, and it would be a ton of code that you needed to change. It would be very expensive, and you'd have limited options for maybe even using multiple vendors. So what OpenTelemetry aims to do is to basically be the glue code for instrumenting your project, but then through the OpenTelemetry collector and exporter, you can ship all of your data to anywhere you want in even multiple places. And that's where a lot of the logic with filtering your data, sampling it, maybe transforming it before it goes to Honeycomb or Lightstep or Datadog or New Relic. It handles all of that for you. Now, it is a project that is built by a committee or designed by a committee, I should say. And I think there's a lot of classic issues with that. It definitely shows, there's been a lot of iteration on it, but there's just been a tremendous amount of work, particularly by one person in the Beam community, Tristan Slaughter, who's put in so much effort into making OpenTelemetry a really good project for both Erlang and Elixir. Brian Nagley is also involved. Fred Haber, learn you some Erlang, famous for that. Anyways, there's a lot of history there, but in particular, I think it is quite difficult to install. And so I wrote this blog post that kind of explains why you would care about it, but also a little bit about how to use it. Someone went ahead and referenced my blog post afterwards and wrote an even better one, which was just, all right, forget all the background, like this is how you set it up. And what I want to do today is I want us to, let's build the basis of a installer for OpenTelemetry to make it super easy for people to install this into their existing projects. And to do that, we're going to use this really cool project by Zach in the chat called Igniter. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a lot of tangents here just because I'm excited and because there's a lot of history for me personally on this. But before we get into like what is Igniter, I want to talk about this blog post, a deep dive into Elixir AST. Um, so someone in the Elixir community goes by the name of Dorgan. I'm actually not sure of his actual name. I believe he's Argentinian. Um, he went just absolutely deep on all of the edge cases of the Elixir AST. I remember him sending a bunch of PRs to like, make things more consistent in AST representation, when he was going through all of this, but highly suggest reading this. I'll put this in the notes of the video later. Really interesting stuff. As a result of this, he made this really cool project called Sorcerer. What Sorcerer is a very low-level toolkit for manipulating Elixir AST. And it's really powerful in the sense that it can kind of parse any Elixir and do a lot of transformations with it, but it's very low level, so it's hard to build tooling directly on top of it. I was first exposed to it through Surface. So Surface, I think, was one of the first projects to really integrate Sorcerer. I had given a talk about this back in 2021. Look at me, Elixir, a bridge to the JavaScript community. Um, what Surface did with Sorcerer was it built two features. One, when there was a big syntax change for Surface templates, the mix surface convert command just automatically converted you from the old version to the new. And that was mind blowing at the time. I hadn't seen anything like that in the Elixir community. The other thing that it did, let's see if we can jump to, we're not going to get there. The other thing it did was mix Surface.init, which I have the code for it right here. Um, Make Surface.init uses Sorcerer, and it uses Sorcerer to parse the AST of your code, find like the right places to hook into it. So, for example, if you want to add Surface to your list of mixed dependencies, parse the AST, find that block, insert Surface version, whatever, and it built on top of Sorcerer with its own little project that's I think inside of Surface called Xpatcher. Um, this was mind blowing at the time. No one was really using this. And I remember Zach getting involved in the conversation about 2 years ago. And then things went relatively quiet. And then, kind of out of nowhere, comes Igniter. So I think this is something that was doing for a very long time. And I'd love to hear from Zach kind of like what was the impetus for finally putting a lot of effort into it. But I think this might be one of the missing pieces in the Elixir ecosystem that I've personally been waiting for just about forever. If you're familiar with Phoenix templates, or sorry, just like Phoenix in general and how you bootstrap a Phoenix project, it uses basically a bunch of string interpolation for generating your templates. So anytime you do like mix Phoenix new context or whatever, it's all EEX templates, which is effectively string interpolation. And that's very basic, and it makes it really hard to add new things to existing code. Whereas because Igniter is built on top of Sorcerer, it is syntax aware and it could basically do anything, including rewrite your code. Okay, pause there. Okay, let's see. Love this history lesson. We should really write some of this out in our docs as well. Igniter's thing is making this accessible and ready for people to use, not inventing individual magics. Yes. So what Zach has done and what I'm going to find out in real time with you is how he made this user friendly, easy to use, so that any project in the Elixir world can use Igniter. It's sick. It's sick. Okay. All right, let's see. How are we doing on my background? Okay, so we talked about OpenTelemetry. I feel like I really did a great job of describing it, but that's okay. Surface.convert and Surface.init, kind of pre-Igniter. What is Igniter? Okay, let's get into it. Let's build the generator, folks. So let's start with this issue. and Slaughter, who I mentioned before. A mix task that adds dependencies like OpenTelemetry Phoenix to a project's mix.exl. It sees that Phoenix is a dependency. Okay, so I don't think we're going to do that. I think what we're going to do is even more basic than that, which is I have an existing Phoenix project and I want to add OpenTelemetry to it. There's a bunch of boilerplate that I need to add to my project. Let's make Igniter do that for us. So we're going to start like from the beginning. We're going to do two things. So the first thing we're going to do is going to make a new repo. This will probably, if we do this well, get merged into OpenTelemetry or OpenTelemetry contrib. But for now, we're just going to make something called OTel installer. And in fact, why don't we do this? Mix new OTel installer. And I don't think, mix help new. We don't want a supervisor, so let's do mix new OTel installer. I guess we don't do soup. Cool. All right, Warp, you're being very annoying. Great. All right, so now we have OTel installer. We'll go ahead and we'll create that, underscore and dash, whatever. Okay, so we have a project. Now we're in Emacs. Let's go ahead and OTel installer. Dope. Okay, so we got a project that we're going to build the installer into. Let's also make a new Phoenix project. So we're going to do mix, Phoenix new, live chat example. Lame. All right. I think I just installed Elixir 117 and haven't bootstrapped the new Phoenix project. So do one of these guys. How are we doing on time? All right, 20 minutes in. I feel hopeful. Live chat example. Boom. Yes. Should have brought water with me. Could have been prepared. How was that? Good. I need to get an M3. My compilation times would be so much faster. This seems particularly slow, though. I feel like something's wrong. Mm. Xdef compile. All right, we'll let that chill for a second. And while it's doing that, let's go back to Igniter. Okay, so Igniter can be added to an existing Elixir project by adding it to your dependencies. You can also generate new projects with Igniter pre-installed and run installers in the same command. Okay, Igniter new, then you can run mix Igniter new, install ash. Okay, so basically what we're gonna want is we're gonna want something to effect of like, I'm assuming this is called like a plugin or something like that, but we're gonna be building a plugin that enables this. Or if you want to use a project creator, blah, 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 the with flag, okay. Igniter will look for a task called your package.install when the user runs mix igniter install your package, and it will run it after installing and fetching dependencies. Oh, okay, so there's one thing called Igniter new, and I'm assuming that this is like you could do many of these. Igniter will look for a task called when the user runs, etc. Run it after installing. these can run by any other mix tasks or can post together. For example, let's say that you wanted to have your own ash resource generator that starts with the default mix ash gen resource task, but then adds or modify files. So we do my app gen resource, use mix igniter task. Okay. All right. Well, let's just start by, let's add igniter to our dependencies. Mix hex info igniter sick. Oh, it's got Spitfire too. Oh man. Okay. Um, that's interesting. So Spitfire is a project by Mitch Hanberg that he wrote for Next.ls. That's also an Elixir parser. So actually, I might have described what Sorcerer is a little bit incorrectly. Sorcerer is a tool for manipulating Elixir AST, not necessarily parsing it. I actually don't know what the edge of it is because I haven't played with Sorcerer myself. Spitfire is a error tolerant Elixir parser that was built for Next.ls, and I'm assuming going to be moving to the new Elixir language server. Yeah, we'll be curious to hear from Zach kind of where those pieces fit in. If we have more time, we just go ahead and read the source code ourselves. All right, so let's go ahead now. We have Igniter. Let's go into lib. Let's add our tasks. Forget, is it tasks or mix tasks is the convention? Lib mix tasks. Okay. Lib mix tasks. Okay, should we call it install OTel or just looking for a task called your project dot install? So I guess it should be called mix tasks OpenTelemetry dot install. Mix tasks open underscore telemetry telemetry. Wow. Dot install dot ex. Cool. Mix tasks. Yes. Open telemetry. Install. We're going to use igniter task. Was it? Mix task. Okay. And def igniter. Cool name. Very cool name, Zach. Okay, so it takes an igniter and it takes, I guess, your args. Cool. And then, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do, let's find out what it's passing here. So, okay, we've got that now. So now if we do mix open telemetry, okay, it's compiling. So the fun part here, I forget how to do this. I guess we just make it a dependency. Let's see here, mix task, open telemetry. Okay, so we need to add, okay, so what's happening here is that it's not finding OpenTelemetry install, and that's because by default, it's not going to pull that code in, I think. Let's see here, it mentions this in mix, Elixir mix task, oh. I guess this should be lowercase. That's odd, but okay, fine. So let's just make it open telemetry install for now. Okay, so what happened was that it was expecting this to be lowercase. It's not the mixed paths as I thought. Okay. Key error, assigns not found in empty list. Interesting. So igniter, we got an igniter, we got args. Assign's not found. I am assuming this is because we didn't return the igniter. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So if we return the igniter, I'm assuming what we're going to do is we're going to start manipulating this thing and then return it. So if we run it again, cool. No proposed content changes. That makes sense. Okay. So now that my Phoenix project is up and running, let's run it. Um, cool. Oh, I have to do mix setup. Should have generated it without a database, but fine. Okay, we'll get that running. Let's check the chat. You have to return a igniter from igniter. Yes. I hope he looks at the chat because using the task web is going to save lots of time. Oh, hotel installer. Okay, yeah, let's call it hotel installer. That's a very good idea. Boom. Okay. Blah blah blah. Hotel installer. I need to put this in the guide. I hope you accept. Blah blah blah. Okay. Hopefully I've done it right. If not, I will continue to periodically check the chat. Let's check our Phoenix project. Cool. Here we go. Okay. So before we start doing igniter things, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, and love that you're here. I think the best way to do this right now is to make Hotel installer a dependency of live chat example. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's actually just use vi here. So we're going to talk about mix.exs. So yeah, don't use vi, which is why there's no syntax highlighting. We're going to do hotel installer. And we'll make this a path, and the path is cool. Great. Okay, cool. So now I should do mix.get. Cool. And now I should be able to do mix hotel install. Installer. I did mean hotel.installer. Thank you. Cool. Okay. All right. So now we should be able to proceed. Okay. We're cooking. Yeah. All right. Going back to here. So let's look at this example real quick. So what is this doing? So igniter code module parse. So this is going to take a resource as an argument, and it's going to parse it. Okay, then it's going to add a new module that's namespaced underneath it, special thing. It's then going to do proper location, which I assume is just to find the correct relative path. Probably by default, it gives you something that's not useful. Okay, then you take your igniter, you're composing with the ashgen resource. So this, I guess, is intended to work on top of ashgen resource. It seems like the way that this works is like this is a thing that like generates a function that can then later be called. I don't know, maybe. Okay, compose task, sure. Create new Elixir file at the proper location, and then okay, inline. Okay, this is actually kind of surprising that there wouldn't be a way to templatize your Elixir, like a quote unquote kind of thing. Maybe it can. I mean, it's just a simple example. I don't know. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's go into the writing our generators. Writing a library installer. Wow, it's almost as if it was intended to do this. Okay. In Igniter, generators are done as a wrapper around Mix task, allowing them to be called individually or composed as part of a task. So I've been calling Mix Hotel installer directly. So we'll start doing Mix Igniter. Oh fuck, I should have done that. Mix Igniter gen task. Wow. Okay, well, we just wasted a bunch of time, but yeah, Igniter for Igniters. It's turtles all the way down. Um, Igniter generators blah 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 blah. Since examples with 1,000 words. Okay, let's just do that. Let's do. Well, I guess I have to have Igniter. I already have Igniter here. Igniter and task. Your app.task.name. Okay. So it really should be hotel.install. It's not three names. Your app.task.name. I don't know what the right convention is here. Ashton resource for I want your package.install. So I'm gonna do hotel.install. Maybe we need to rename my project, but whatever. Look at that. Oh my god. Hotel.install. Wow, it generates documentation for you. Okay, let's try it. So now if I do mix igniter, how do I call this now? Mix igniter, install your package. Look for task. Your package.install. Okay. So I would have to. All right, so this is what we're going to do. This is very confusing at this point because this is going to be hotel installer dot install. Right. Okay. So I'm going to. Right. Delete that. Save this. Rename things later. Now if I do mix deps compile, oh my god, generated code with warnings? How could it? Positional args, that's cool. Okay, so now if I do mix igniter install hotel installer, could not determine source for requested package hotel installer. What do we do wrong? Hotel installer. Is it the same thing as before where I need to do this? Let's see. Could not determine source for requested package hotel installer. All right, should we look at the source code or should we check in the chat if Zach is going to pick up on this? Well, I'm lagging. You guys are lagging behind a little bit, so we'll see. Let's find out what's going on in here. Group hotel installer. Hotel. Oh, fuck. I think it's probably because of the name. So it should be hotel installer install.ex. Convention is annoying sometimes. Could not determine the source. Okay, let's make sure it's compiled. No. Okay, what did it generate here? All this looks fine. Hotel example mix hotel dot install. Is that the way that we're? Mm, installer is designed to do the whole thing. It's look at for it on hex. Okay. Um. So okay, if we do it like this, hotel installer dot install. Okay, so I guess we could just continue to run it like this. Hopefully that's fine. Um, that totally makes sense. And actually, that's really cool that you don't even have to have it, that it just pulls it down for you. Install the archive. I didn't do that. It still worked. Great. Okay. All right. Let's go to actually generating stuff then. So let's find out first what we need to generate. And I appreciate actually that this is probably going to be somewhat out of date. Um, but let's go by this. Um, So we're gonna do the most basic thing, and then we'll see how we can make it more interesting. We still have 20 minutes. I'm very hopeful that we can do this in 20 minutes. Okay, it's important to list OpenTelemetry exporter first. So what's really cool about Igniter is that theoretically, if you already had OpenTelemetry exporter in your dependencies, we could detect this and then still put this last. I guess we could always put it last, but you want to make sure that there's no duplicates. So we could certainly find that for us. But let's do this. So we're going to do OpenTelemetry, OpenTelemetry API, and OpenTelemetry Exporter. We'll start here. So info, cool, positional args. Okay, so we're not actually doing anything, and it's not implemented yet. Yes. Okay. So going back to our example. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, which is maybe not the easiest thing, is to have an example here. Upgrades. So we're going to want to open up mix.exs, niter mix task, code common, add issue. Whoa, this is so cool. New Elixir file, compose task, update Elixir file. Oh my God. There's a lot of cool stuff here. There is so much that it is a little bit different. Okay, project depths. Okay. Code mods and utilities for managing dependencies declared in mix.exs. Wow. Zach has thought of everything. Okay, so cool. This is going to be hopefully as simple as just calling add dep. So let's do that. So we're going to do, actually, let's, before we do that, so that we can consistently get a clean slate, let's add OSS, live stream example, live chat example, chat example. Okay, so Git repository, yes. Create a repository, yes. Isn't Emacs great too? Okay, so now we have a starting point for our Phoenix project that we're going to be adding this to. So let's look at mix.exs. So we basically want it to shove the dependencies underneath here. So we're going to go ahead and hotel installer. Okay, we're going to do igniter project add dep. I think is what it was. Add dep. So it takes igniter, the dependency, adds a dependency in mix.exs file. Okay, what is the shape of it? Let's go to the source code, people. Dependency, okay, so a name or version, name, version, version ops. I will send a PR for this. Kind of want to do that right now, but let's try and stay focused. Uh, we should add a PR though that it basically tells you what dependency should be. So a little type signature would be nice here, type spec. I hate type specs, but that is helpful in this case. So name and version seems like a good start. So we'll do add dep, add dep, and do open. Okay, add it, yes. Or add these three. Actually, it's really cool that you can just drop them as is. And in fact, let's do mix, hex, info. Let's get the latest ones here. Open telemetry, exporter. Amazing. I'm going to do the same thing, but for open telemetry. Check the chat while we're at it. Chat says the installer is designed to do the whole. Okay, I already saw that. Igniter project depths. Okay, we're on the right track. Open telemetry 1.5. And OpenTelemetry API. So what's weird about OpenTelemetry is that they split the project into an SDK and an API. This is part of the design by committee thing. It's also to make sure that like libraries don't have to ship the whole SDK, only the API. It's annoying though. Yeah, it's confusion. It's also confusing when you go to look in the docs and find a particular thing. You're like, do I look for the SDK or the API? I mess it up every time. Okay, we'll remove this warning. Okay, so we're on our clean slate on our Phoenix project. Let's see if Igniter is going to add these dependencies. So we're going to go ahead and rerun it. Let's see if it compiles my dependency. It did. Function project add dep 2 is undefined. Okay. Well, Igniter project deps. Okay, that's one. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. That's really cool. Okay, so it looks like by default it's going to prepend it to the dependencies, which seems fine, but you can also append it. Um, let's go ahead and append. No, just because I feel like I don't know, I prefer that for whatever reason. Beautiful. So that's so cool. So because it's syntax aware, it recognized that we're going to be appending to the list. It added the comma to the end of this nice little git patch. That's so freaking cool. Okay, so we're cruising so far. How are we doing on time? We got 10 minutes. We can go a little bit over. All right, so we've installed that. Let's go next to. Okay, so we can add all these other projects. I don't think we're gonna do this right now because I want to get through it. But what's interesting is that with Igniter, I think we can have a lot of options. We can also theoretically figure out which dependencies you have and then like selectively add them. That'd be cool. I guess you could do that for like officially supported contrib hotel bridge libraries. These are all called bridge libraries. Um, we're not going to do that now, but I think that will be something we'll want to add. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to instrument libraries. So, man, actually, I think it's only going to be interesting if we do it because the regular hotel, I guess, doesn't require any of this. Okay, but we do need to do configuration. First, we need, so okay, let's skip to this and we can come back to that. So first, we need to instruct OpenTelemetry how to run when running into mixed release. If you're not using mixed releases for your project, you could skip this. Modify the release configuration. Okay, so now we need to go into our project configuration for your app, and we need to add this. Okay, this could be tricky. Let's see. Need to add this. Okay, let's start with the easy thing first. So let's add this guy. Oh, there's me. Yeah, let's add this to config.runtime. Tracer configuration. Okay. So basically, like when you're running OpenTelemetry, um, there's certain attributes that get added to all the data, the spans that are created for traces in particular. So this helps with that. Let's go into Igniter. Let's do configure project application libs code common. Add code. Adds provided code to the zipper. So I think what we just want to do is we want to open up that file and then kind of shove it at the end kind of deal. So let's see, create new file. Update file? Update Elixir file? So updates the source code of the given Elixir file. So you give it igniter, a path, and a function, which is a zipper updater. So we need a zipper, which is a source server zipper. Apply and a fetch. All right, let's go back to the examples and see if we have anything. Setting up igniter extensions, files. Okay, writing generators. This creates a new file. Okay. Oh, look at this. Configure. Append new to list. Okay, let's look at that. He has thought of everything, folks. Okay, configure. Sets the config value in the configuration file, updating it with the updater if it's already set. Sets the config value in the configuration file if it's not already set. Configures. Here's key. Modifies the Elixir configuration code starting at the configured zipper. Okay. Anyone is looking for some open source contributions, I think these could all use some examples and I think would be greatly appreciated as a contribution. Let's see. Sets a config value in the configuration file, updating it with updated release. Okay, we could try this. Configure fake.exs, configure. So this is file name, app name, config path, value. All right, let's try something like this. What do we want to add? We want to do something like this. We're going to go into config runtime. So we want, I said runtime in there. Config runtime. Oh man, so we need to get your app name. I'm assuming there's a nice way to get that. Functions. Let's search for it. App. That was the thing. Okay, here we go. Returns the name of the application module. Okay, app module igniter. So igniter project application. Is that going to return my installer's application? I don't think so. Yeah. App name. So it's igniter project application. All right, let's just do that and see what happens. I'm not adding Tailwind, but let's see. Look at that. Okay, so it's gonna run this. It's gonna add this to config runtime. That's really cool. Um, Live chat example. Okay, so it also got my app name. Actually, it's right here. Live chat example. Okay, so now, okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do my app name. We're going to do, oh shit, it's not my app name, it's OpenTelemetry. Even easier. Defaults, args. I see. So instead, this is going to be resource, service, and code, and then let's see, what are our options here? Config, I think it was any zipper, right? Let's look at this. Code common, add code. Okay. Common add code, zipper root to string. Oh, okay, so this example, how you can combine it. So I think if we just do source or parse string, that will be, I think, enough, or maybe we have to zip it first. I don't know, let's find out. Oh, this does parse string, so I imagine we can do parse string. So let's do name, API, namespace. Okay, this is where we do want your app module. Service API. I don't know about that, man. Okay, we'll just do app name, application, app name, app module. Zach really did think of everything. Okay, so we'll do igniter, project, application, app module, file. Okay, and then I guess we'll do that again. Maybe there's a better way to do this, but so resource service and resource host, and this we're just going to do name. Cool. Okay, try it again. Protocol is not available for that of type tuple. Okay, so I guess this is returning a tuple. Hold on. A module returns the name of the application module. Does it though? Thank you, Andre Leopardi, for adding this feature. Okay. DBG is the best. That ain't it. Okay, but yeah, we're just learning here. It is not returning the app module. Is that a bug, Zach? A bug? Let's check the chat. Niter, oh, you're not alone here. What a surprise. We don't have anything for this, so this is gonna go require using zippers. The hard thing will be to stop the application start. Big inspect app so it doesn't get. Yes, it's a bug. Okay, cool. Well, And all right, we found two things. Let me write these down so I forget. So one is add an example to depth.add depth, shape depth, and then two, app module returns a tuple instead of the module. Okay, Zach, I'll send PRs for these. So I know you're very quick, so you could try to beat me, but don't, because I'll do it. I'd like to contribute. Okay. Um, okay, so what we need to do here is need a pattern match. Let's pull out the app module. Don't care about that. Great. I think it's gonna work this time. Oh shit. Okay, or Zach already said this. You have to inspect it. Man, I wonder if there's any way, like, this just makes it so hard for Erlang and Gleam. Actually, Gleam might like automatically get rid of this, but like for Erlang, it's like it's so obnoxious that it's like I'm Elixir. You must declare it as Elixir every time. Um, okay, let's inspect it. App module. We're gonna fix that. Oh, okay. I think we lost my webcam. Whatever. We don't need to see me. Okay, it's flickering. Don't know why it's flickering. Cool. I think we've gotten somewhere interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do here. Um, I think I'm gonna pause here. What have we done here? We have made a new installer for OTel called OTel installer. So far, it adds the right dependencies. Starts to configure your project to add a bunch of options. I think we're gonna need to have either a lot of options or just generate kind of like fill the details in here, which I think is probably what we want to do. We don't want to make this thing so complex. Um, there's a few more interesting things that I think we could do around, where is it? Like detecting what dependencies you have and then conditionally injecting this code. I think that'll be pretty fun to implement. We also have to do this, which will be fun. More zippers. I don't know. Should we do another live stream next week and keep this going? I think that would be fun. This was fun for me. Um, all right. I have like another 10 minutes. Why don't we send some Igniter PRs and then we'll wrap up the stream. Thank you to the 8 people who are here. This is really cool. All right, let's go into Igniter. Let's understand the source code. By the way, Zach, I don't know who made the logo, but I like it. It's very cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and fork it. Create a new fork. Igniter, amazing. Okay. So clone it. Okay, let's add upstream as a remote. Okay, and then let's go to can we run the tests? Okay, so we're gonna create 2 PRs here. I think they should be fast. The first one, let's do the depths one first. So add depth as a dependency to the mix.exs file. It seems like things that do show the examples tend to, okay, Elixir. Yeah, so let's create an example here. So we'll do Elixir, copy this guy. So this is going to be project depths, add depth, and then a better example than igniter. So igniter, expect info igniter. Cool. Okay. I think that's pretty reasonable. And why don't we just do this so it's not a burden for maintenance? Okay. Actually, let me do that. Let's do X, Y, Z. All right, this maybe is confusing, so let's just do dependency. Dependency. Okay. Okay, so now let's write commit, add an example for igniter project depths, depth 3. Right, add depth 3 or is it add depth 2? Well, I know I'm using add depth 2. Okay, fine. Push that up. Look at that. Contributor checklist. Bug fixes include regression tests. Okay. Great. Awesome. Let's check the chat. Dolly and lots of trial and error. Okay. And then let's do one for the app module, which is going to be slightly harder to do. So search app module. Okay, well, there's no test for it. Can we write a test? Application test? There are application tests. Let's do a blame on this. Let's see when this is from. So this is recent. Add igniter test with helpers. Fix properly extracted module from dev project. Okay. So it's a list, get key, module, expand literal. Okay, well, it's hard for me to know if there's doesn't add test project. All right, well, let's just try this. Let's see if we can add a test. We can't. There is app name test, so I feel like app module would be possible. Okay. All right, I just like to have things side by side so I can read them. Okay, app module. So it takes an igniter. Okay, so test, it returns the application module. Let's see. This should fail. It doesn't. Then that's weird. Oh, I got to check out Zach's GitOps project. Zach, you do have a lot of good projects. Zach was blue sky posting. Well, I don't know what the verb is there about trying to attract people to Ash based on just generating a lot of good ideas. I do think there's something to this, Zach. Um, there's a lot of good stuff. Okay, compiling. Hash module just one needs to match up potentially being a tuple, which is that one branch returns 0, 1, making PRs on day one, a thing of beauty. Okay, all right, that passed. God damn it. Oh man. Oh, this is so annoying. So Emacs and when I just run mix task, it compiles the project separately. I'm so bad at elisp that I'm never going to fix this unless someone else does. Um, we are now limited by the Elixir compiler. Okay, so this did work, which is interesting. I wonder what's different about a Phoenix project, maybe? Let's see. So, no, project, app. Let's go into OSS. So if I go to CD, live chat example, I run IEX, that's just mix in it. And then, okay, so this is parsing the AST to get it out, right? Application. Yeah, so this is parsing the AST to get the app, oh, it's app name, app module. Keyword, get key, expand literal, maybe expand. I'm really confused here. All right, let's just do both, I guess. So if it's a tuple, I don't know. Zach can fight with me in the PR on this one. I don't know. I don't know what the right thing is here. I don't know how to replicate what I was seeing. Okay. Thank you. I'm kind of confused here for why we are getting it differently. Let's see what we were doing again in the installer. We were Uniter project application app module. Did we modify it in any way? No. I'm assuming this doesn't do anything weird to it. Maybe if there's just multiple things on the list, I don't know. Let's see here. Nope, still works perfectly. Um, I'm just going to add a couple more things. Otherwise, I'm just going to push up this test and we can investigate it later. But this is kind of weird that I can't reproduce it. Wait, well, did I fix it? Am I crazy? Well, I did fix it. So it could be a reason. Okay, but it still works. I don't know, man. All right, I'm gonna push this up and create an issue and try and figure out why I can't reproduce it. Maybe it's an Elixir version thing. Maybe running different versions of Elixir between projects. I don't know. Um, so it is Igniter project application app module returning tuple. Figure out how to reproduce. All right. I'm gonna open a PR and then I think we're gonna wrap this up. I mean, it's for, wait, hold on. Well, yeah, it's bug, but the point is that it's not what you want in your mix task. It's for module your mod. Not sure what you mean, Zach, but we will come back to it. Don't know where. Didn't I have an Igniter tab open? I did have an Igniter tab open. Don't know what happened to it. Okay, we'll figure that out. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming to my first live stream. I think we're gonna do this again next week and continue it. So um, look out for a link. I hope you